everyone, how you doing? Hope you're doing really well. Thank you so much for joining me today on my channel. If you don't know, my name is Pip. I am a book cover designer and I've been a book cover designer for 7 years at Simon & Schuster, and today I'm just going to be showing you some book covers that I've designed in the last 7 years. It's been a long time and I have many book covers to talk about. So today I'm quite literally just scratching the surface and I'm just going to talk to you about a bunch of books that I've worked on and a little bit about the process. A lot of people have been asking for a video like this, so I hope that this satisfies some people's curiosity and you find it interesting. So the first book that I'm going to talk about was a really fun one. It was a really fun process. It was called The Truths and Triumphs of Grace Atherton by Anstey Harris. This follows a woman called Grace Atherton who is basically heartbroken. She was in love with a married man and their affair ends, and she's devastated, and she goes through a healing process through finding friendships and enjoying her love of music, and it's set in Paris. So there's a lovely brief. I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the comparison titles as well. Comparison titles are really important in the book cover design process. So comparison titles are given to us as a kind of guidance as to where exactly the book will sit within the market, who the book is going to appeal to, what other books that person might be picking up, what books they might be interested in. So we don't want them to look exactly the same, but we would ideally like that cover to sit comfortably alongside comparison titles, if that makes any sense. So the comparison titles for this book were Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine and The Keeper of Lost Things, among others. So I immediately wanted to use the Eiffel Tower as this kind of central illustration, immediately tell the audience where it's set, because I feel like it's quite an important part of the book, as well as trying to illustrate the Eiffel Tower in a bit of a different and exciting way. So basically what I did is I got some blue ribbon, which I think I still have up here. Let me see. I still have the ribbon. I refuse to throw anything away. So I bought some blue ribbon and I laid it across a white background, and it was long, but I basically arranged it into the shape of the Eiffel Tower as best as I possibly could. And I took lots of photos and then I photoshopped it to hell to look like the Eiffel Tower. And it was fiddly, but it was fun. And I really like the finished cover. It looks like this. This is a proof copy, but I really wanted to use like a bronze foil on her name and the strapline, and it just adds a little something, and I love it. So I also love this book. As an aside, I read it when I was really heartbroken in my own life and it really helped me. So I love this book for every reason, and I'm so glad that I got to design it and that I got to do a little bit of sort of crafting and photography. Very fun. What a treat. The next book is called A Girl Made of Air by Nadia Hetherington. This follows a girl in the circus who is a funambulist, which means that she is one of those ones who like walks across the rope without falling off. You know what I mean? Beautiful story. They wanted the cover to be really rich. We had loads of budget for finishes, which means that I could foil it up however I wanted to. I immediately put together a mood board, just tried to find images that gave me the right vibe and the kind of images that I really wanted to focus on for this cover. I just wanted it to feel like a really beautiful tactile book. I wanted it to feel like a really beautiful object. And that was very much the goal. So a really useful thing for this book actually was finding old music sheet covers. They're all over the internet and there are loads on Getty ready to download and pay for, obviously. The aesthetic of these is just exactly what I was going for. They feel beautiful, they feel decadent, they're so highly detailed, and I'm gonna throw a whole load up on screen right now if you find it interesting seeing the kind of thing that I was looking through. The finished cover actually does use an old music sheet cover that's very heavily edited, and eventually we came to the finished cover, which looks like this. This is A Girl Made of Air, and we did indeed get to foil it all the way around. Actually, another interesting story about this book is that it's my only credit for a publisher that isn't Simon & Schuster. This is actually published by Quercus. This book was originally bought by Simon & Schuster, but then at some point moved to Quercus. They bought the rights, obviously, and published it, but they also took my book cover because the book cover was already done and they wanted to use it. So I did the cover, but they actually put together the spine and the back themselves and the flaps and everything. It was a bit weird knowing that I wasn't going to be in control of how the finishes were going to come out, so I'm just really happy and grateful that it came out as good as it did. And there we have it. This is A Girl Made of Air. This is obviously the hardback, and then the paperback looks like this. I did not adapt this, but I think they did an absolutely stunning job. They paperbacked it up a little bit by adding big white bold type. So next we have, oh, whoops. Actually, let's talk about Taylor Jenkins Reid. How have I not talked about Taylor Jenkins Reid? I should have talked about her first. Okay, so Taylor Jenkins Reid is one of my favourite authors in the world. I love her with my whole heart and soul. So there was an opportunity to design 2 of her backlist titles covers, and I was like, me please? I would pass away if I could do that. So I did it, and I'm so happy that I get to have like my name on the back of a Taylor Jenkins Reid book. Are you joking? So backlist reissues are something that we do every now and then with a new cover, and obviously we did that for 2 Taylor Jenkins Reid's books. So the first one is Maybe in Another Life, which looks like this, and then the second book was One True Loves, which looks like this. They obviously have a similar kind of vibe. They have a very saturated, very bright, summery, kind of photographic filter on top of them so that they feel really bold and really vibrant, and they're just a vibe. I'm not gonna lie, I really like these covers. Is there anything better than designing covers for one of your favourite authors? No. What a dream come true. How lucky am I? I know. Speaking of very, very popular authors and their backlists and reissues, I actually got to design 2 backlist reissue covers for Colleen Hoover, which was incredibly exciting. Can't believe I got to do that. Colleen Hoover announced this on her Instagram. She's got a whole bunch of new covers for her backlist, and they're all stunning. I only designed 2 of them. I designed Hopeless and Losing Hope, and yeah, I'm really happy with these 2. I think Losing Hope in particular is like so zingy, and I really love the colour combination. I think it's very fun. So yes, if you're a Colleen Hoover fan, and if you can wait for these reissues to be printed, which shouldn't be too long, I don't think, let me know if you pick either of them up, because I know how many people are reading Colleen Hoover right now. Very exciting. I know that I talk about this book all the time, but I am going to talk about All's Well by Mona Awad because I'm really happy with this cover and the process was so fun. So, All's Well. Obviously, I read the manuscript. I was like, this is just one of the best things I've ever read. I am so excited to design this cover, and I immediately dived into sort of making a mood board for myself. I'm going to show you some of the images on screen now that summarise the kind of aesthetic and feelings that I was having about this book and what I kind of wanted to go for. I then stumbled across this image. This is a really old piece of artwork. I was like, this is almost exactly perfect and almost exactly what I was hoping for. There's like this beautiful combination of feelings that I get from looking at this woman. She looks like she's lost, untethered. She looks like she's asleep. She looks relieved. To me, she kind of looks pain-free for some reason. And I just love that she's floating in space, because if you've read this book, you know how surreal and nightmarish and dreamlike it is at times. So I was like, this is just everything I could possibly have wanted. So I put a few designs together with this image, and I was really hoping to go for a kind of old vintage theatre poster or theatre programme kind of vibe. Obviously, because this book is about putting on plays and theatre, it kind of made sense to me to try that sort of thing. I don't know if that comes off. I don't know if that's clear at all, but that's what I was sort of going for. The eagle-eyed of you will have noticed that I also added these sort of orbs with the shooting star going through it again. There's a variety of reasons that I did that. I'm hesitant to make a cover look too busy, but for some reason I felt like the image needed a little bit something more to fill the space, and also it adds an extra colour. And we have the finished cover, and the paperback is done, but I don't know if I can show you it yet. So if I'm not allowed, it will not be on screen, and if it is allowed and it's feeding out, I will put it on screen, but I feel like I can't. So look out for that soon. So next up we have an author called Susannah Kirby. She writes historical romance novels, but I'm going to show you 2 covers that I designed for her. The first one is called The Vanished Days, and it's a hardback that we just wanted to feel really, really beautiful, very pick-upable. Didn't really need to say too much about what the book was about. We would focus more on the setting and kind of pulling you in that way with the paperback. The hardback was just more about making it as beautiful as possible. So this is the hardback for The Vanished Days. It looks like this. It is a really old image that I edited to make it look even more kind of aged. because it's set in the 1700s, so it made sense. And yes, there we go. We haven't done the paperback of this yet, but I'll keep you updated if you want to see it. The next book by Susannah Kirby is called The Winter Sea, which is a paperback. It looks like this. As you can see, we've amended her style slightly from the hardback style. We've got the decorative elements, but we've also got more of the story going on. You can see the setting and the time of year. You get a little bit more of the vibe of the book, whereas the hardback was obviously purely decorative. So I really like both of these covers. I think they work really well. They are romances set in Scotland in the 1700s. So if that is your bag, you absolutely must pick these up. Next, I'm going to talk about a slightly newer one. So new that I actually don't have a copy yet because it's not printed because it's only just been revealed. But I thought it'd be fun to talk about it. It's called Flight by Lynn Seeger-Strong. This is a book released on our Scribner imprint, which is more of a literary, slightly upmarket imprint. You're much more likely to find copies of a Scribner book in like a Waterstones or an independent bookshop. This is about a family reuniting after their mother figure has passed away, and it also follows the fact that a child has gone missing in their local community. It's got a lot going on. It's a really, really great read. I remember the comparison titles for this book were very much along the lines of like Luster by Raven Lalani and My Phantoms by Gwendolyn Riley. So covers like this are really fun because they obviously don't immediately give away what the story is going to be about. The titles are a little bit more ambiguous, so you really have to kind of turn over the book to see what you're getting into. And yeah, very fun, really fun brief. And this is the finished result. I really like this cover. I really like the spareness of it. I like the emptiness and how your eye kind of travels from the bird to the title and then drifts down to the house as kind of an afterthought. I just really like how it works. In case you're interested as well, I'm just going to show you the US cover because the UK and US covers were released together on Instagram, and I love the US cover. I think it's so cool. It's beautiful. The designer smashed it. So there we go. It's interesting to see the UK and the US covers side by side. And there we go, that's Flight. So next I'm going to talk a little bit about a book called Spacehopper and how different a hardback and a paperback could look from each other, because I always think that's really interesting. So Spacehopper is mostly a fiction book about grief. It's about a woman who has lost her mum and she discovers that she can time travel back to meet her mum, speak to her mum, bond with her mum. I absolutely love this book. I think it's so beautiful. It's such a wonderful account of grief, and I just think it's a really beautiful story. But that aside, there's a kind of central motif or kind of symbol of red roller skates throughout the book. So that was included in the brief as maybe a potential image or imagery that we could use for the cover, and I ran with it. So this is one of the covers that I designed, and this ended up being the hardback. And then I'm also just going to show you the paperback, which looks like this. Really different direction, much more kind of mass market, photographic led, focusing much more on the emotional kind of childhood photo, nostalgia kind of feel. Actually, I should say that the photograph of this book was taken directly from the American hardback, I think. I'm going to put the American hardback on screen. I can't take all credit for this paperback, obviously, but I just kind of amended it for the UK market, which is something that we do quite a lot. There we have it. There is their paperback. Okay, so obviously Spacehopper demonstrates how different the hardback and the paperback designs can be from each other, but also as an example of how we can just do direct adapts, like no changes, is a book called Ordinary Hazards by Anna Bruno. This is another Scribner title. This is about a woman who lives in a small town, and she ends up in a bar one night really pondering on her life and thinking about all of the decisions that led her up to this point. So as you can see, there's a picture of some whiskey on there. She's having a drink in a bar, so I just wanted it to look as appealing as possible while also looking like a bit of a grimy old bar. And yeah, the hardback looks exactly the same. I can't think if I actually changed it at all, but I'll put the hardback on screen and then I'll put the paperback next to it. So there we go. Sometimes a design just works and everyone is happy with it, and we just directly adapt it for the paperback. For the last two books, I'm going to briefly talk about a really big part of my job, which is commissioning artists and designers to illustrate parts of the cover or literally design the entire cover. Sometimes you get a brief that you know would be better suited for someone else, for someone else's style, for someone else's illustration style. You just, most of the time, you know that they're probably going to nail it and execute it in a way that you are not capable of, or maybe you don't have time for, or it's just not really in your arsenal. So a really good example of that is a book called Where We Belong by Anthony Harris. This is the same author that did our first book that we talked about. It looks like this. This beautiful artwork was done by an artist called H, and she was an absolute joy to work with. She's so talented. I'm going to put some of her other work on screen here. I remember that she did a couple of book covers that are just absolutely stunning, and she had the exact kind of aesthetic that I was going for and really picturing for this book cover. So I just decided to commission her to do some artwork for this cover. It takes place at a really crumbly old house that's kind of overgrown with leaves and nature, and it's like this magical old house that's glowing from the inside. So this is the finished cover and I love it. I think it's so beautiful, and H did an incredible job, unsurprisingly. And this is like exactly the kind of illustration that I just am not able to do. Like, this is not in my skill set. So of course, every now and then I'm going to commission artwork and designs out to other people, and it works out for everybody. So the next book and the last book that I'm going to talk about in this video is called The Language of Food by Annabelle Abbs. I decided to commission this cover out to a designer called Michaela Alcano. She is unbelievably amazing. I'm sure without a shadow of a doubt you would have seen some of her covers in your life by this point. She designed Ariadne, she designed so many covers. She's hugely prolific and she's hugely talented. So when I got the brief for Language of Food, which was briefed to be a really beautiful, highly finished, really detailed cover, I was like, I'm gonna see if Michaela Alcano's free and hope to God that she wants to do it. And thank God she was, and she absolutely nailed it. I'm gonna show you it. It's literally insane. It's so beautiful. I can't get over it. She just absolutely knocked it out of the park. It's exactly what everyone was hoping for. A nice little bonus of this book as well is that this is the independent bookshop edition, which has sprayed edges. Michaela designed these as well. So stunning. So amazing. I just will never get over this, and everything about the experience of working with her was just a joy. So that is The Language of Food, and that is the end of this video. Oh my god, I don't think I've ever talked so much in my life. Well, if you're not sick of the sound of my voice by now, then well done. But you made it to the end, so please just let me say thank you for watching. I hope that you found this video interesting and that you took something from it. If you would like me to make another one talking about more designs, then I absolutely can. Do let me know in the comments down below any of the covers that you really liked from this video. I'd be really interested to know what your favourites are, and I really, really appreciate you watching. Also, really specific thank you to the people who watched my videos like years and years ago and watched me lose my job and then get a new job at Simon & Schuster in book design, and it was like my dream come true. And I made a video about it, and I just will never forget how supportive you were. So if you are one of those people, just from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. I could never tell you how grateful I am. And it's time to go. It's time to turn off the camera because my throat's gonna die. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in my next one.